Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show tonight. Listen, glad to have you guys here. I want to talk about Deutsche Bank. I'll tell you what I found out today, and what all of a sudden what I saw. I was reading an article about Deutsche Bank, and all of a sudden it come to me. Something interesting come to me, I'll show you the article I was reading. Let's turn the charts on right here. I think it was this article right here. Deutsche Bank BNP face reality of $168 billion hedge fund deal. And I was looking down through here and I was reading about this, and all of a sudden I read this here, right here. It said, yet the German lenders' clients have been pulling $1 billion of funds per day out of Deutsche Bank and going elsewhere. Right? It said that here about this 168 billion that they're the two European giant banks, Deutsche Bank's one of them. Here it says giants are discussing how to transfer 150 billion euros, 168 billion of balances linked to the hedge funds at Deutsche Bank's so-called prime brokerage unit, along with the technology and potentially hundreds of staff people familiar with the matter. They're attempting to get 168 billion euros out of there as fast as they can, but with people pulling out $1 billion a day out of there, it says that where did it say it here? That they're hurrying to get these funds out of there. It says it's placing pressure on them to complete the deal soon, because people are pulling $1 billion a month out of there. And so I was reading this, and all of a sudden it come to me. And this is what I think. Now, this is only my opinion only about this whole deal, what's happening here right now. Now, what I'm going to say next is just my opinion, okay? But I think when Deutsche Bank made the bad bank, I think Deutsche Bank died. I think they're dead. I think they're carving up the carcass. And I think that they're not telling people that Deutsche Bank's gone. It's over. Because they don't want to cause a panic, and that would just make them pull more than $1 billion of funds per day out and going to other firms it says here that the German lender clients have been pulling $1 billion of funds per day and going elsewhere. That would just make them go elsewhere a whole lot quicker, and they wouldn't be able to get that $168 billion out in time that they're trying to pull out of there. So you got them guys on one end. Basically, I'm just using it in my own terms. They're trying to get the money out as fast as they can before their clients can get it out. It's basically every man for himself right now, hauling pieces of meat off of this carcass. This is the way I see it. And the thing's a carcass. It's done. I think it's over. That's what I think. I think it's already over. I think Deutsche Bank's fell, and I think that they're holding back the official statement that Deutsche Bank's fell. They're trying to get the money out as quick as they can before it becomes obvious to everybody that the bank is going down. That's what I think. That's what I'm getting from this. I mean, all of a sudden it just come to me. I said, hey, you know what? They're gone already. It's over. I think it was over when they started that stupid bad bank business. Now, that's just my opinion on this. That's just me speculating on what's going on. I mean, I'm not a banker, and I don't know everything, but this was the sense that I got reading this article, I just all of a sudden something snapped in my head, and I said, hey, you know what? Every man for himself at this point, it's just, the bank is chopping off their branches, and they're firing everybody, and the whole thing is just disintegrating right now in front of us, but nobody yet has said, hey, nobody has stood up and say, hey, is this the bank done? Is this it? But that's what went through my head, so I'm saying it. And, it's just my opinion. But that's the feeling I'm getting from all of this. You know, these complex deals they're doing and everything, but they're huge. I mean, this bank has the biggest derivatives book, and it's tied into these other banks' derivatives books. So what happens is, if Deutsche Bank's derivatives book goes down, about $40 trillion derivatives book goes down, because it's tied into these other derivatives books, these other banks hold like 40, 50 billion, trillion, like 50 trillion of derivatives, 40 trillion of Deutsche Bank's derivatives. If that goes out and it connects with these other banks' derivatives, it's going to pull their derivative book down too. And they hold like 40, 50 each bank, like JP Morgan Bank and all. It's just the whole thing might start to melt down all the derivatives worldwide. Like a trigger effect, And, maybe. I'm just thinking off the top of my head here and I don't know. But what's that 21 trillion off-balance book money that I keep hearing about, What about that? Could they be planning to use that money to try to prop up the derivatives market if these banks all fail suddenly? What in the heck is going on here, There's a lot more to meets the eye. Ultimately, though, there's one foundation behind the entire world's financial system. When you cut through all of these derivatives and all these different money products left and right that they've stacked on one another, like building a house out of cards. They've built all these derivatives up. And when it all collapses, it's going to go right down to the foundation. So what is the foundation? It's always been gold and silver. Now, we got something else happening in the markets today. Let me flip on the gold price here for a minute. Now, something very interesting. You watch the gold price today. It was getting ripped. Started out the day around $1,415. And it ended the day at $1,405. It lost like $10 over the course of the day. Now, keep your eye on that. Now, look at this. Look here. Look at silver. Exactly the opposite. It started the day at like 1532, and it ended the day at 1561. Look, it climbed. So this is screwball too. This is not normal. It's not normal. In fact, this is the first time I've ever seen the silver price separate from the gold price go down, the silver price go up. I've never seen this happen before. Since I've been watching these charts, this day's the first day. Here's the thing. I've always had the theory in my mind, like when we had that last big gold rally, and I saw gold take off first and lead the way, I was saying to myself, this is not the way the real rally's going to start. And sure enough, it fell back down again later. It went up, I think silver went up to like, $21 or something, and gold rallied up to like, I can't remember what it was, like 1,400 or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember it rallied somewhat, and then it fell back down again. Sure enough, that wasn't the big bull run, right? Because it didn't start right. It started with gold leading the way, and then silver followed. I've always thought to myself that when the big rally comes and the big market push and the big time starts with gold and silver, and they take off, I've always thought to myself that silver's going to lead and then gold will follow. I've always thought that. I don't know exactly why I think that, what exactly my reasons are for thinking that, but I've always thought that. It's always been in my head that when we finally see silver and gold break free of the manipulation, I've always thought to myself it's going to be silver that leads the way. Well, all of a sudden today, boom, silver's starting to lead the way. Could that be it? I don't know. And here's another thing. I believe that the foundation behind the entire world's financial system always has been gold and silver. right? So if gold and silver prices start to shoot up, what do you think these bankers are going to do that have been suppressing the price to the downside? And this is something else I've always thought. They're going to manipulate it just as hard to the upside. And they've been accumulating. And they've been able to accumulate in a way that the price actually falls while they're accumulating. They use these paper short contracts to manipulate the price downwards. And while the paper price is falling, right, they're accumulating the real physical asset. They're accumulating it. And they've been doing this for a long time. They've accumulated millions of ounces. They're ready. They're ready for when everything happens. Listen. Thank you guys for listening to this show. And, oh, by the way, you know, my computer, it's crashed out. My ordinary computer I ordinarily use. I have an old computer that I used to use. I had to haul it out of reserve today and start using my older computer. I'm not happy about that, you know. I gotta try to figure out how to get my old computer running. It's got something wrong with it. It started to really act up, and I got so frustrated with it because it's going so slow. I don't know whether it's got a virus or what. It kept saying that the memory's all being used, so I went in, checked it, and sure enough, it showed that all the memory was being used. Maybe it's got a virus. I don't know. It just won't function. You know, I mean, maybe a memory stick went bad. I just don't know exactly what's wrong. It functions so slow that it just frustrates me. You know, it's still working. The computer's still working, but it just won't function properly to do my show with or anything. So I'm on my old computer, and it seems to be working pretty good, you know, except that I can't record the charts for more than 10 minutes. It shuts off, you know, because I'm using a version that I got to go in there and I got to get that fixed too, you know, so the charts will stay on longer than 10 minutes. But anyway, listen, thank you guys for listening to the tonight's show, and give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate that, and you guys have a great evening. Bye-bye.